What's up, Mortal Kombat podcast fans?
What's up, everyone?
Mortal Kombat podcast fans, hello. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for being here. My name is Zach.
Yeah, and I'm Nathan. This is a podcast where we talk about religious trauma and how we have healed from that over our lives.
Indeed. Our religious trauma comes from the Calvary Chapel Church based in Christianity.
Yes.
Our dad was a pastor and still is a pastor.
Still is, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we were born in the faith, as they call it. More like born in the gatekeeping of what faith is or spirituality.
Yeah.
And we've talked for over 30 episodes on our trauma and different ways of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's so much that we could go back and keep talking about. But if you're curious on certain specific topics around like our trauma around prayer, our trauma around worship, or other things, go on back and look through our podcast, which used to be called Those Boys. It's not anymore.
Nope, it is not.
We had a big name change a few casts ago. And you can go back a couple casts ago and figure out why.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information out there in the past 41 episodes.
Yeah.
We've come a long way, you and I.
We have. I can't believe we're on episode 41.
It's nice. We've told ourselves we're going to throw a big party for episode 50.
Yeah. And the hope was that the branding would be done by episode 50. And I really hope it is by then. But
we'll see.
Either way, let's throw a party.
Yeah. Your hair looks really good.
Thanks, man. I just got it cut yesterday.
You get your hair cut way more than me.
Well, it's because I had that high and tight.
You have the high and tight.
And the second you start to grow it out more than a month, it's like, you're not high and tight anymore, you're fluffy.
Yeah.
And so I have to get it cut.
Tell me about it.
That's why I kind of want long hair that I could tie back, because then I don't have to get as many haircuts. Haircuts are expensive.
I think you should do it, but I just have this feeling you'll never will.
I'll do it when I'm not in the industry anymore.
What does that mean?
It's tough being a bartender in like a high class place where you're supposed to look really.
Aren't there like those types
together.
of, like, what do they call them? The hair bun bros.
I mean, yeah.
Hair bun bros.
It's just you have to go through that awkward
the
phase.
HBBs.
And that awkward phase is months.
I just went through it and I quit.
Yeah, exactly.
My hair was growing into my ears and I was just like, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But I did like it long, and then I got mine cut and I feel a lot better now. So.
Yeah. I always love that fresh cut feeling.
Yeah.
Your dog's losing it, dude.
It's so annoying. We always have distractions right when we podcast. My fiance is literally right behind my camera outside of the garage tanning right now with the dog. So we can just hear everything going on in the back, which is fine. We're just gonna move right along.
Yeah, we're gonna move right along.
But just like Zachary wanted to do this time, which we're going to start doing more and more, announcements.
We normally do the announcements. Yeah, we normally do the announcements at the end. And
we know that if you're watching this, you get to the end. We're not saying that you don't.
Yeah, you definitely get to the end.
Yeah, we know
obviously.
That. And so we're not worried about announcements not getting heard. We're just moving them to the front of the podcast.
Yeah, we're just moving them to the front.
Give me your announcements.
I have one announcement. For this week, I have a different announcement for the next week. But for this week, I have an announcement because the day after this podcast comes out, Saturday the 10th, I'm going to be performing at the California Theater here in Santa Rosa.
Wait, did you say you are performing?
I'm going to be performing. And actually, I'm going to be doing a dual performance with me and my lady.
Wow.
Yeah.
Alex.
Xandra in Motion.
Xandra in Motion. Right. Sorry.
We're doing a song together, and then I have a little surprise song after that one.
So Signs is performing
for the first time.
First time ever.
Yeah.
How long has Signs been making music?
7 years.
And this is the first time you're performing. This is a big deal.
I've always been hiding behind my productions. And I never ever thought I would ever embody Signs. My whole goal was I'll embody Signs when a label signs me and I go on tour. And they have the money so I could have in-ear monitors and all the things I've ever wanted.
You have to make it perfect, right?
Well, I've just performed so much for 4 people at a time in every show with the worst monitors. And it's so hard that I got to a point after I was touring on the East Coast for a while that I was like, I'm not performing unless I have the equipment and it's going to be enjoyable, because it's not enjoyable sometimes. Most of the time when it's like, oh, there's 4 people here and I can't even hear myself sing. Right. And so I kind of was there. And then I just started to really want to grow in Signs, especially since I've been microdosing, has been growing quite a bit. And I'm just more like, I think I'm Signs. Yeah. And I think I want to just see what happens when I perform. And I've never performed without my guitar. So it's like I'm so nervous, man. Like even tonight's the rehearsal night. I'm so nervous just to be standing on stage singing.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole different appeal. and not hiding behind my guitar.
It is. It's absolutely frightening.
It's very frightening.
I'm proud of you. But I think that we can bring this back up when we jump into our topic.
Totally.
Because I think that's a great beginning of what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Well, that's very exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
When is that? Next week? 2 weeks.
For when this podcast comes out, it's going to be that next Saturday. So it's be June 10th.
So yeah.
This comes out
Saturday.
June 9th.
So next Saturday.
Yeah.
Whatever. For us, it's next Saturday.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. Any other announcements from you? You do have a new single coming out.
It is coming out. I have a new single called Pay Me, and it's coming out on the 23rd of June.
Yeah.
And I think the pre-release, you could go download it or pay for it if you really wanted to.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And this is a big one.
This is a fun one.
It's a really fun one.
Yeah.
Some announcements for the cast. We've been asked. There is another wonderful podcast that's an audio podcast in our area that Zach's been friends with for a while. We've worked at like similar restaurants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have so kindly wanted and asked us to be on their cast with them.
Mm-hmm.
We won't announce too much, but that's going to be coming up. We're actually going to be finally breaking some barriers and evolving a little bit where we are interviewed from another podcast and do theirs, and we're probably going to have them on ours.
Yeah.
So that's like super exciting.
It is very exciting.
And
it's interesting because we talk so much about religious trauma that when they first asked me if we wanted to come on, like, you could keep it on topic too. We could talk about religious trauma. And in my head, I was like, we don't have to.
Yeah.
I was like, we could just be on your cast.
It's great. We're the ones that literally run this, create it, edit it, make it.
Yeah.
It's up to us.
Yeah.
There is something about having consistent content. I think a lot of podcasts are just interviewing other famous comedians or people, right? It's like, and whereas some podcasts are informational. And I think ours kind of falls in, we've talked about it. It's like really the basis of our podcast is more trauma and trauma healing, which could literally be everything. And I think like, because your performance is a good example of like the uncomfortability, and it can feel a little traumatic in the process of building up to it. And then all of the amazing growth that comes out of it. So that's like, you could talk about music constantly on this podcast if you wanted it and what that means to be an artist. So that's exciting. We'll talk more about that as that gets planned. We don't have the exact date set, but I'm sure it's going to happen sometime soon.
It's a work in progress. It's tough to figure out when we're all free. We all work a lot.
Yeah. And that's life.
Yeah.
We don't do this for a living.
No.
This is definitely on the side, but it does take a lot of our time
for
all of us. It'd be fun to do this for a living.
I honestly think if we don't stop at some point, we will.
It'd be a dream,
Mm-hmm.
which every dream in life that becomes reality, you just got to start dreaming, living that dream in reality, and then it becomes the reality. This is what we're doing.
You gotta start believing the dream.
Another announcement is my birthday is coming up, June 25th.
Mm-hmm.
And today's date is exactly June 4th.
Yep.
And I was pleasantly surprised by this sibling over here
Mm-hmm.
and my fiance and the rest of my family, but mostly the two of them and my sister, who bought me one of the nicest and newest Mac Minis on the market.
Yes, sir.
Due to certain things in my life, which is, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
I've been beaming about it. It's very exciting because I do a lot of music, and I've had my laptop, my MacBook that I bought.
It's like a 2014, dude. 2013.
Yeah,
it's so old.
It's about 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I bought that motherfucker for like some crazy thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And it was top of the line then. And then over the last 10 years, I started to write this new drum album, which I'm calling it the drum album because it's going to have a lot of percussion focus. And then you've been really wanting to set me up with the new singing modalities that you have, right, to help me comfortably break that barrier. And everything I write starts glitching. Everything, like the processor can't handle it. And it just sucks because it's not even that I'm using too much. It's just technology as it advances. If you don't keep up with it, it's so annoying.
Yeah.
And so this was the one thing that was like the hurdle, was I needed to buy some new technology, and some things in my life kept me from being able to financially do that. So I was pleasantly surprised way before my birthday today with the Mac Mini. Thank you.
Of course.
It's very sweet of you.
Of course.
It's an amazing gift. And I'll be editing this podcast on the Mac Mini too, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah. I think you're going to be very surprised at how much easier it's going to be to edit on that thing.
Looks like we have to go to 4K.
I don't know.
Kidding.
Dude. It was tough on my. I don't know if you realize we went to 4K on episode 39, and now we are back at 1080p, and I think we're gonna stay here for a minute.
All of the editing changed. I had to like lower the quality of everything just to help it.
I didn't do any I got really good at doing the subtitles for a minute there, and then I was like, the second I had a hard time just doing cuts. I'm like, I'm not doing the subtitles. No way. Not on this episode.
Yeah.
4K is just a different beast.
Another announcement. is this is more of a sad one.
Yeah.
A very close friend of ours, James Tower or Jim Tower. He's an amazing musician.
Very good.
Out of San Francisco. And will be in my wedding. That's how much I love this. We're very close. And his sweet dog had a very bad accident that is requiring just an unbelievable amount of money. And if you're somebody out there who doesn't spend money on your pets when they get hurt, you can turn the podcast off now. Get out. Because those of us over here, we don't look at our pets or our dogs or our animals as being lower than us. Everything's God. Okay. Anything that's aware and grows and has life is an example of the universe manifest outside of that. And so these pets of ours like Atmore or Maya or my friend Jim's dog Booker, who's in a severe amount of pain right now that's been going through surgeries, is going to cost a lot for rehab.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see the GoFundMe pop up probably somewhere like right there. And if you have in your soul's desire, if you can send a little money, that'd be very wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, moving on.
Moving onward. How was your week, man?
My week has been very good. Megan came back home from Detroit, and it's just been a blessing having her back. She's the love of my life, and we are so meant for each other. And went to a friend's barbecue in Oakland yesterday. That was a blast. Made a bunch of new friends. And there's nothing like going into like, we have like a mutual friend together and that's all the person we know. And so we went together to this barbecue and it's just so sweet going with your partner to meet new people.
Yeah.
Right. There's such a safety net there because
Totally.
it's hard making new friends. There's all that social anxiety. You walk in, you're like, everybody knows each other and you're like, hi.
Yeah.
And so me and Megan like go and get food and we said hi to our friend and we sat down and Megan's really good. She's like, why are we immediately went to like a corner of the barbecue and we started eating. She's like, I don't want to be here, and gets up and walks like right to someone's table. She's like, can we sit with you? And I'm like, I love this because I think like I was hungry and I just would have ate alone. And so she pushes me to, you would never think I have social anxiety, but I do.
Oh yeah, baby.
And I like people coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I used alcohol a lot in the past that would like bridge the gap from social anxiety to like not feeling it. I just wouldn't feel it. It'd be there, but I wouldn't feel it. And then all of a sudden I'd be like the one bumping into people like, hey, what's up? My name's Nathan. How's it going? Hey, what's up? And now I just feel like I feel all my feelings. And so I'm like, I know that it's like, you shouldn't be alone right now. You should be going and like conversing. And it's like, oh, that's so hard. Why is that so hard?
I feel like it gets harder.
It's so good.
The harder, and maybe it'll get easier the older I get. But as of right now, it feels like it's getting harder the older I get.
Wouldn't you like when you watch like Evan, like my son, or kids, like you watch Keela, your cousin, right? I guess
the niece.
Niece.
Well, my girlfriend's niece.
I guess it's your niece. Yeah. That you watch kids like all of a sudden like they'll just like. They don't know anybody and you're at a park or you'll be at the river or something. And then it's like,
they're like, hey,
want to go throw the ball?
Want to throw the ball with me?
Bam. They're like 5 kids playing football. And you're like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Some people I've met, and I do feel like the older you get, right? You see like old dads that are just conversing with dads and parents that like, and so I just think it depends on the person. So I think for me, just putting it on me, I have like I have like to be honest about it, that I have that like there's something weird that happens where I'm like, oh God, I'm not the type of person that just goes and like throws myself out there to meet new people. They come to me. That's how it's always felt. Is people like feel my energy and come to me. And that's so backwards, right? It's like, it should be more mutual. This is all about ego death. Kill that ego.
Definitely.
And then you realize that it's just, you're so lucky to be around people ever that want to get to know you or you get to know them. And people are really interesting.
Totally.
And so I think like the less you have ego, the more you're interested in other people's lives. And I'm definitely growing into that more and more. And personally, I think this is a great segue into our topic. Yeah. Because part of what we're talking about today is the uncomfortability of growth. So you better get used to being uncomfortable if you want to grow in life.
Definitely.
And all of the different, let's have a conversation about that. Yeah. I think making new friends, we talked about this on the last cast, maybe it was the last cast or last 2, of just, like, it's not easy for me going out of my way to like make new friends or to even reach out to like my close, like I'll have a thought like, oh God, I love that friend. And I still won't follow that with like a phone call or checking in just because of my own past trauma and the friendships that I've had in my past. And so a lot of my part of my growth that feels really uncomfortable is putting myself out there for other people to trust like a sort of relationship, if you will. And that's just like an example is making new friends is uncomfortable. But the more people you meet, the more you get to know other people, you learn from them. So you can grow from that connection. But I think we should use you performing.
That's why I came up with the topic.
Yeah.
Is I'm so uncomfortable all day today. I'm like, I'm going to mess up.
Really?
Just because I'm so nervous. And when I get really nervous on stage, I forget. Like I've been practicing the 2 songs I'm going to perform religiously every single day. And now it's today. I can, even when I'm practicing today, I can like feel myself getting so lost as I'm performing because I'm so nervous about getting on stage again that it's like, I hope I don't forget the words because I just get really anxious. But I've performed enough times to know everything's different the second you're on stage.
So you're a little shaky. You're very, very nervous.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it then?
So that I can grow, dude. I mean,
how does that grow? Like how does like putting yourself into such a traumatic, uncomfortable position of performing on stage help you grow?
I think it brings reality to the table. And if you're not willing to show yourself to the world, you have limitations on how far you can go. And there's a lot of producers that's all they do is they make music, they release it, they make money. They make music, they release it, they make money. I've been doing that for 6 years now, something with Signs, and I can't get people to listen to my music, and it's really difficult, and marketing's tough. And so I either keep doing this and just hope that people will start to catch on, the algorithms start to catch on, or I do something different and see if the songs I'm making in the studio, I can actually perform them. Because performing is just a whole different ballgame. And I think it shows a lot of talent when you watch someone that can take their music and perform it live. Performing live is really difficult. You're doing it through monitors. You don't have metronomes. Like until you're at a certain level, you don't have the things you actually need to perform. And if you can get through that and be like, look at me, I'm Signs. It's me. I made all of this. Please go listen to my music. Thanks for being here type of thing. There's so much there. I can already feel it. There's something there that makes me feel so strong in Signs now that I'm going to be performing, and it just solidifies it a little more. And if I mess up, that's great because then I don't want to perform anymore, you know, like, or like I'm trying to see where I'm at in my life. So older.
If you do make a mistake, you're saying, so if you do mess up, you won't want to perform anymore?
Depends on how bad the mistake is. So like I of course, my anxiety kicks in and I'm like, if I get like halfway through the song and then my anxiety gets really bad and I just start forgetting the words. I've had this happen a couple of times on stage and I start like mumbling different lyrics because I don't know what I'm doing anymore and I'm totally disassociating and it's really tough. And then the song ends and it's like, that was miserable. I've had that feeling before. And it's like, the reason why I haven't performed in many, many years is because that feeling is so intense and so destructive to my ego and to my confidence that I just would like, if that happened again, I probably would I don't think I would never perform again. I'd probably never perform as Signs again because I'm so used to, there's something about having my guitar as a safety net. And so taking that safety net out is to see who is Signs. Signs doesn't have a guitar as of yet. And so it's just getting out of my, getting uncomfortable in front of people on stage and seeing if I can do it.
It's interesting because what we're talking about right now is performative art.
Yeah.
And what you have been doing, which I've done a lot of too, we've both done a lot of performative art in our past. And now you're like taking another jump into like solo performative art. Yeah. But there's this idea of comfort when you're not performing on a stage that you've been really used to and you're really good at, but it's not giving you the results that you want in life. And so we're talking specifically like performative art's a little bit different. I think this cast is an example of performative art too, where the more you do it and the more practice you give it, you're going to make mistakes. But if you just don't give up and you keep performing, that performance becomes less of a threat and it becomes less uncomfortable, right? And it puts you like what used to be the scariest thing ever then becomes normal, Right now, what's normal for you is sitting in your studio, having all of the things that you need to make everything sound perfect, where you can go back and have 9,000 masters, all these different versions, and get it right. Send it to me or whatever and be like, hey, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, you should change this. And then you change it. Right? That's like super comfortable. So I think that like using you as an example, it's like that's considered like you in your studio where you can edit everything perfectly and nobody else is watching. And you're like, nobody's here. Okay, I'm going to try this trill. Nobody heard that mistake. Delete. And it's like, let's call that the comfort zone. Right. And it's like,
it's become the comfort zone.
It's the
For
comfort
some
zone.
people, I mean, breaking that barrier of making hip hop and R&B was uncomfortable at first. And I didn't want anyone to hear it because I was a singer songwriter. I wasn't an R&B artist, or I was a DJ dance type of like producer, but I wasn't an R&B artist. And so the second I started doing that, that felt uncomfortable. But then showing people, I was like, I want to make so much more of this. This is being accepted. Never performed it live though. And that's a whole different ballgame on if you're going to be an R&B artist or even hip hop or a rapper or anything, and you don't perform live, that's your limitation. Is cool. You're never going to go on tour. And you're never going to do this, this, and this. And that's a big part of being these types of artists, is being alone on stage, having your song play. Maybe there's a DJ behind you and that's it. And you control the crowd. It's all on you. And there's a huge amount of talent there that I think goes overlooked on how tough it is to be the only person there responsible for all that energy.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of these artists do get a lot of credit. I do think that there is a high bar for getting it right. And when you put yourself into a state where you're performing something and all eyes are on you, all eyes on me, is where the simplest mistakes, maybe if there's another producer in the audience, maybe if there's somebody that makes music is out there, they might hear it. Most people aren't going to hear an artist like you who perfects their shit before they go on stage and you make a simple mistake. Most people aren't going to notice that. But the mistakes that are like, damn, I forgot my lyrics, right? That really hurts.
Yeah.
But if you talk to other artists, I mean, anything from comedians to actors to other stage performers, like every single artist in the world bombs. It's part of what it means to be an artist. And I think that like, I was just listening to an interview with Bill Hader, right? He's putting out his newest season of that HBO show that he writes and directs. And he talks a lot about his life on SNL and how he developed autoimmune issues because of how much anxiety he suffered from performing on SNL. He was like the most, and he was like the best.
Yeah, I know.
But he was the most anxious to the point of where you can find episodes of him grabbing onto other actors because he thinks he's going to pass out on scene.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you doing? And then they find out afterwards that he was like having almost a mental breakdown and going to pass out. And he even talks about it that like after doing it for like 8 years, he's so happy to not be in that anymore because it was so destructive for his health. And I think that like some people have that, right? There's so much anxiety with that performative art. It doesn't mean that they're not amazing at it. They're just having to learn that relationship with that like fear and that anxiety. And so,
well, there's also a vulnerability that's seen. I think when you're having a panic attack, you're so vulnerable that even if you're making jokes or you're singing, people can feel that energy of vulnerability. So it's like, it's not really a bad thing to be anxious on stage. You're being vulnerable. People like that. I think seeing an artist that's vulnerable, they don't like you making huge mistakes. Of course, that makes everyone feel awkward. But I mean, like you get through your performance, you think you messed up. Like you said, like your small mistakes, no one's going to notice. It's very true. And most of my live performances I've ever done, I make a couple pretty big mistakes in my head where everyone's like, oh, I didn't even notice that, like you did great. But I'm always such a perfectionist. But yeah, Bill Hader's amazing. And I love that. He's
also a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And I think performative art is one example of this, and you're living it right now.
Yeah.
And we've talked like how when we did our shroom trip, and like how we talked a lot about you being honest about that, like there's this fear that's always been like, I don't want the world to truly see me. And so that holds you back from like everything, right? And I think that that's like a pretty common theme in all of our lives, not wanting to be truly seen. And then the last podcast, we talked a lot about how true vulnerability is what leads to actual growth. And that when you actually truly are vulnerable and ask for help, whether it's in a romantic relationship or any area of life where you're just like, you hit another human up and you're like, hi human, I need help. And what can feel like that's going to ruin everything. Me needing help is going to ruin everything. And it's like, no, actually that's what creates a bond, because all of us are wanting, like needing vulnerability with each other. That's what leads to growth, is vulnerability. And so this is like vulnerability with self, getting on this stage to perform live. It's also vulnerability with the audience. Without the audience, there would be no reason to do this, right? Like if you just got up and performed for a sound guy, which is, you've done a lot.
Many times.
So have I.
Yeah.
It's like you play the best, because it's like, are you serious? Nobody came to the show. It's just the sound guy. Like, it's a miserable feeling, but you're up there to perform. So it's just like, you get all pissed off, because like this feeling is like, oh, I'm going to give it the best then. There's something about having a relationship. Like if this audience wasn't here to see like what I'm performing, then there wouldn't be that sort of relationship. And so I think like in life, just when it comes to like real spiritual, emotional, mental, just true inner growth requires vulnerability. And most of life, every day, there's opportunities throughout the whole day, multiple times, where you can choose to be in the comfort zone, whatever that looks like, or you can choose to be uncomfortable. And so wouldn't you agree that like real growth, like there's a part of real growth that requires, everything's uncomfortable with growth. It's like a baby that gets to being a toddler to being like a young kid, like adolescent to a teenager. The growing processes can be kind of excruciating, just to the physical form. Like you hear of like kids complaining of leg pains because their legs are growing so fast. They have growing pains. So I think that rings true in every area of life. And so what happens after growth, right? Your muscles get a little bigger, you get a little bit taller, you're stronger, you're more. Does that mean it ends? No, I think that means that like we grow so that we can be ready to grow more, right? We get stronger from the growth, and that normally gives us a point of taking a step back and being aware of that, and then being like, now I'm ready for the next thing, the next hurdle, because
or it's like you have to grow to even see the next thing. I feel like there's certain points in art or in being alive, even mental growth and anxiety and depression and everything. It's like going through the hard times where you still go to work, even though you're having a panic attack, and you show up and you're like, everyone notices, and I'm not doing well. I had to even let my manager know, and it's not good. The next day, you're a stronger person for that.
Right.
It's like you grew through that.
That's a good example. I was going to say that so much of growth through discomfort in life, like me as a nurse, is so much of like my Mondays after, like if I have a big week coming up, like tonight before I go to bed, and when I wake up in the morning, I get this same feeling before any busy week, is this feeling of like, today's gonna be really busy. And I don't know who comes through those doors, and it's going to be, and I get the work, or like Monday anxiety, or whatever you call it, Monday GBs. Like it's this weird thing. I've been a nurse 10 years now, and I have a lot of confidence in it, but I'm still like very aware of how I get nervous before I go into the hospital, because there's always the potential, like I have to present myself strongly, and I have to be ready to communicate on every, thing possible that has to do with science or emotions. And I have to like put myself on the line, whether I'm going through a personal battle or not. And that always pushes me to grow. Like, and that's like the beauty of my job. And I think all jobs can be that. Like, that's like the respect of work. But I love your example of like performative art as being this, there's like a discomfort in growth. I think that like one area that I personally have grown and continue to grow all of my life in is just like physical activity. I look up to professional athletes and people that choose, or even just college athletes or high school athletes, like these kids that choose, sports, or they get put into these sports where they are forced to get up super early, no matter if they have classes or not. And no matter what their studies are, they still have to go to practice right after school, and then they don't get home till 6, and they have to study till 9, and then they go to bed and do it again, and they do it again. And those sports that require like insane miles to run, and your coach is like pushing you in all of this. And so I'm like a huge coach in my life when it comes to discomfort of like physical activity, and like whether it's running, biking, lifting weights, yoga, meditation, like there's so much discomfort every time. And I like love that physical discomfort. There's like this thing that I like really find, I know how much I grow from physical discomfort. And there's this, through therapy and so much what we talked about on this cast, and like so much what this cast is about, is like the new growth that's been happening in our lives because of this cast and just other things in our life, is that internal growth. So I think that there's ways where you can always like work your body or use like physical discomfort as a way to grow internally. But then like there's this other really hard part of really uncomfortable part of life that is like internal growth that requires vulnerable communication, asking for help from other people, not being alone, like what you just said, like being alone, like there's not many limit. Like the biggest limitation when you're alone in life is the fact that you're alone in life. That's the biggest limitation to growth, right? Is you can't get through, you shouldn't get through this alone. You can learn from other people. And so having a relationship and working with another partner, like we are partnered to get through this life together is super uncomfortable at times. It requires consistent vulnerability and consistent honesty and consistent communication. The things that can be really fucking hard for people, me included. And so like there's never ending growth in the romantic relationship, family, parenting is super uncomfortable. Your kids bringing you things that are like, piss you off when you hear them say it, but it's not about you. It's about them learning. And you have to like then watch this little mini me of yourself that like makes decisions that you just want to protect them from. Like, no, don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. Or no, don't say that. You're better than that. And like all of these things, in reality, you just got to swallow your own ego and be like, all I'm here to do is shower love into this individual, which can be really uncomfortable because all I want to do is make them perfect and never be in pain. And so I think relationships, human relationships can be very uncomfortable.
Totally.
And that like leads to so much personal growth. But one of the things that you said that like I really want to focus on is you were like, if I make a really, really big mistake, I might not perform again as signs. And personally, I think one of the biggest things we're talking about with growth is learning how to
be okay with making mistakes.
Learning how to be okay with failure. Because this idea of failure, right, seems to be like an end all. It's a period statement. It's like, if I fail, then I'm worth nothing. When in reality, that's not true at all. Like, I do think that making a mistake, you can look at it one way where it's like you fail at something like, okay, I'm going to plant this plant. Like I'll use gardening. I'm going to put this tomato plant in the ground and it dies. Oh, I failed. I'm never gardening again. No, that's not right. You can look at failure as, what did I do wrong? Or what did I miss? Or what did I not do enough research? Was the soil wrong? Like there's endless ways that you can look at failure as a way to succeed, right? Like every time we miss the mark or we make a mistake, it's really just like another opportunity to see how we can grow more. What else can we do to add to the equation now? What needs to be taken out? So do you think that's true? Let's say that
a lot of like, I don't want to say influencers, but like mental health influencers that I come across on the medias, a big thing that they always talk about is the more you fail, the more successful you'll be in everything. So it's like, try to fail more, try to fail. If you're failing often, you're going to be successful.
Interesting.
Because the avoidance of failure is the avoidance of doing. And so to do means to fail at some point. Or so in other things.
When you said with signs, like, so let's say you make because, let's say you forget the words and you're like, and the music's just, and you're like, sorry, everybody. Right? That's the worst nightmare, right? Let's say that happens. We know it won't. Okay. I'm not putting that energy out there at all because I know you. It's not possible. But it is possible. Let's just say that has happened to you.
It happened.
Right?
It happened in high school.
Okay, so this has happened to you. Why are you right? This idea is like you're not doing this again.
Yeah.
Here you are.
Yeah.
Doing it again.
Yeah. I mean, I have a love for music, man.
But what have you learned? Like I think you already
from
said
failure.
It. Like you've forgotten the words before. You've had really bad anxiety. Think of all the things you're like. What are the things you're doing in your life now to balance your anxiety, keep yourself from losing track? Right, like. How many times have you practiced these songs that you're performing?
A lot.
A lot. Like what's a lot?
Well, I mean, at least in the last 2 weeks, like twice a day. But then some days like 40 times.
So no lie.
Wow. Yeah.
So you've learned.
Well, because if you practice enough, because my brain will go numb when I'm having a lot of anxiety, especially on stage, because being on stage looks so much different than being in the audience. All you see is bright lights. The stage looks gross. And you're like, right now, I'll start getting these thoughts that are outside of the music where it's like, I'm performing right now. Don't forget. Don't. And I'm like, Like, where am I? I'm just in this orb. But because I've practiced it so much, it's a muscle memory of I am performing, but because I'm not present, I feel like I'm not. And I feel like I'm making mistakes when in reality, I've practiced it enough that I'm just doing what I've practiced 1,000 times.
And so insane, like you're saying 40 times in one day, you know, like you're dealing with a lot of anxiety that day. So you're combating that anxiety, performative anxiety.
By performing it, yeah.
By practicing a ton. So I think that's like a good example of resilience.
Yeah.
Like resilience to your own mind, resilience to your own like self, by being like, I'm so tired, but I'm like literally I do not want to make a mistake. So I'm going to be resilient in my practice.
Yeah.
And that resilience normally leads to like when you're on the stage having like an immense amount of problem solving skills, right? My point is like, it feels like the more uncomfortable you are in life with this in regards to growth, and like the more skills you end up developing. If you just stick in that comfort zone, right? And in the comfort zone, we've talked about this, is another term for it is familiarity.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have something that you're like in life that happens and what's familiar is to get angry, or what's familiar is to shut down, or what's familiar is to not talk about your feelings, but just to talk about the logistics of everything that has to do with that's not feelings, like time and structure. Is like, that's such a familiar place because that's what's been going on your whole life, or that's what you've learned, or that's what you did as a kid, is like, that's comfortable. Like, so familiarity is really comfortable. So not performing is a familiar place for you.
Mm-hmm.
You have performed, but it's been many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you're very familiar to not performing.
But the big one about this is I'm performing in a way I've never performed before. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
I've never not had my guitar.
Right. So it's the opposite of familiarity.
It's the complete opposite.
Which is crazy that you've never performed with it. Like, that's where I've always said Zachy shines the most.
I mean, I guess with Blouse, I performed with just a mic, but I had the DJ booth.
Yeah, there's always something. Guitar.
There's always something when I'm performing that if I fuck up the vocals, I'll show my talent other ways. You know, I will make up for it in the DJing. I'll make up for it on my guitar. You know, and it makes me feel okay with fucking up my vocals. Whereas when all I'm gonna have is a mic, nothing else, is like, cool. Well, I better not fuck up those vocals. Then that's what goes through my head, and it's not about that. That's the thing. I keep telling myself it's just not about doing anything right. It's just about being on stage and doing it because people love to watch that, and you're trying to be entertaining. It's it.
And people love that. But honestly, this is about you and you.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean, as in it's not about if I mess up or not. It's about just doing it. Because if I mess up, what's going to happen? I'm going to wake up the next day and that's that.
Right.
We're going to go on. Am I going to stop making music? Hell no. I can't survive without making music. I'm going to keep making music. So it's not really the feeling and anxiety I get of if I mess up, I'm not going to do this again. It's like I might feel that way for a week, but I know I'm going to want to try again and prove to myself that I can. Yeah. Because I've never done this before. And so I might mess up. I might get so uncomfortable and anxious that I might mess up, but that's the growth. And if there's any place to mess up at like a lower end show. That's only going to have 50 people there or something. It's like, cool. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's more comfort, right? It's like you're setting yourself up for like, that's a comfortable place to be.
Yeah.
It's like, and normally that's where it starts, is smaller crowds and little tiny cafes and whatnot. And it builds from there as you build up your confidence. And so like these skills that you develop with not being in the comfort zone, being uncomfortable, you just like, that's just the reality. If you put yourself in an uncomfortable place, which is what growth is, requires uncomfortable positions to be put yourself in, you're going to develop skills, new skills, mental and internal skills that will cross over to every area of your life. So you're performing your art in a way where it's requiring you to be super uncomfortable, require tons of practice. That obviously presents itself in your relationships, I would imagine, in other areas of your life, and other areas that require not performative art, that require like behind the scenes Zachary stuff. But by putting yourself in these uncomfortable positions, those new skills tend to last forever. Like the things, like the more uncomfortable you are and the more you learn in that uncomfortable place, the more you realize that life is just very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so the more prepared and the more like resilience and the more problem solving skills that you're going to be able to use and build off of in every other area of your life. And I think that like what I've seen is like how you've gotten here. And this goes for me too, but like, I think using your performative art as an example, because it's so coming up and it's such a big deal, is that like you've had to be really uncomfortable in your own mental health over the last however many years to get to this place, right? Like, and you even said it, like the microdosing, like the things that you were so scared of before that were so uncomfortable getting to the place that you are now. It's very normal. And what used to be super scary and like never going to do that, I can't imagine that people do that, has become like a medicinal success story on mental health, resilience, problem solving, anxiety, you know, like befriending the anxiety, not allowing that anxiety to be the enemy. It's not allowing that fear to be an enemy. It's not. It's actually who you are. That fear is a part of you. It's something that you can use as like a powerful force, right? Like your fear and anxiety is what forces you to practice unbelievable amounts of time and energy that goes into it. And so you're like befriending these, what used to be enemies. They're not enemies. They're just like motivators. And so, like long-term internal skills come from being uncomfortable.
And there are studies that state that like when you do put yourself out of your comfort zone, your brain neurotransmitters transmit differently. You become
more like neuroplastic.
Yeah, your neuroplasticity grows. And that's a lot of the theory behind microdosing is it drastically causes neuroplasticity. And so every avenue of your life, you start to perceive things differently, but it's also you're starting to growing in a different way. Your brain is legit making different tracks in a different way. And I think that putting yourself in uncomfortable situations do the same thing.
I think that's like a neuroscientific way to describe what I was just saying.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's like what happens in the uncomfortable zone is you actually grow emotionally and spiritually and mentally, which are those like synapses and things starting to complete. Like what used to be like not a connection becomes now connected. Like, oh, I didn't know I could do that before. Yeah, because you never put yourself in an uncomfortable position to try it. And, oh, but I failed. Are you going to give up? It's like, are you going to not do it anymore? No, I'll do it again. Why? Because I'm going to do this differently and this differently. Those are all different synapses and things and roads. It's like, if this is the point and this is one way and it's a block, bam, I can't get to this point. Well, then go this way and then maybe go that way and then go this way. And there's all these different angles that you can take. So I think like being really uncomfortable is that it's really, really uncomfortable. And so there are coping mechanisms, right? There are like certain things that we can do to like be, how do I say it? You can't be less uncomfortable, but it's more of like caring for yourself, like true self-love. Self-love is performing, right? That's like putting yourself in uncomfortable positions is truly what we've said is true self-love.
Yeah.
I'm going to be uncomfortable by doing what's not familiar so I can grow. You know, it's like, that is not self-care. That is self-love. And so...
Well, because, I mean, just speaking on my music in general, I put so much time into my music and it's like I'm doing myself a disfavor by, if I have the opportunity to perform, by saying no because I'm uncomfortable. It's like, well, why would I say no? It's like, there's no reason to say no. I could get work off. It's in 3 months. It could be fun. And I could show people my music that I work a really like hard amount of my life on, that in my head, the dream is at some point this takes over and I do this for a living. You know, that's always been the dream. And if I'm not taking it seriously, why would anyone else take it seriously?
Right.
And if I'm not performing it, I'm not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
It's like, because the goal is to go on tour someday, you know, it's like, and make money out of my music or get it in movies or something. It's like, how do you do that? It's like, well, you got to get some exposure and do the hard thing.
Yeah. The only way you'll ever be that is learning how to befriend uncomfortability.
Yeah.
Uncomfortability. You can't ever, I mean, I guess I want to say can't ever think we're speaking on us. Like, you know, like if you want to make money in it, that's capitalism. If you want to like get more and more people to listen to your music, that's going to require you to build relationships that you hate or like you really are uncomfortable about doing. The more you put yourself in an uncomfortable position, whereas right now it's performing live, the more you're going to be able to make the phone calls, go to a meeting, set up an agent. The things that you're like, I don't know if I deserve it, whatever the things that keep you from doing that, you're starting the process of now getting there.
And that's what I'm really starting to see in myself, is that my reason for not doing things isn't because I'm scared of doing it. It's because I don't believe that it's a reality or that I deserve it. I don't think I deserve to be successful as a musician. I'm just some kid that makes music in my closet and blah, blah, blah. It's like, but that's everybody. everyone always has started there,
And I
and they
think
just believed in themselves.
This idea of deserving is interesting.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't think it's about you deserving that, or personally. It's like you could do everything right, man, and still never make it in music the way that you want to,
Mm-hmm.
because this is an industry that don't give no fucks about you. This is an industry that's all about money.
Mm-hmm.
This is an industry that's all about views.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reality is if you don't stick with it and you do give up, you never make it.
Mm-hmm.
And what does making it mean? I think that that's the dangerous place that we're in with being performative artists.
Yeah.
We've talked about like being a performative artist, and we can switch over to using this podcast as an example.
Yeah.
It's a sacrifice. And I think that like you can do the fun comedy podcast, or you can do that. We choose something vulnerable. We choose conversations that are like about real shit
Mm-hmm.
that we're going through, that we believe everyone else goes through as well. That we all of our lives, we all have to make a choice. We always have a choice. And like learning these lessons and learning how to stick with it and not give up is what tends to grow things. So our podcast is, not always changing that much, but we are growing so much because of it. And the podcast itself is growing. Our entire brand change, what feels like the most uncomfortable setback, and we're seeing it in our view counts. But we as individuals and the cast itself is maturing immensely from us doing the uncomfortable thing, and being open and vulnerable about it. There's just so many different ways of looking at life and the uncomfortable comfort zone versus the uncomfortable zone, and how like growth will not happen if you remain comfortable.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I think that in all of this, talking about like the comfort zone versus uncomfortability, there is something that like we haven't talked about at all, which is I think like the icing on the cake with all of this is like, so is life just supposed to be uncomfortable? And I've said it before that there's so many people out in this world that are like pushing this sort of like, if you're not in pain, there is no gain.
Mm-hmm.
You have to run 35 miles in the snow naked or else you won't grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, that's not true at all. It's actually pretty easy to be uncomfortable, learn that lesson, take a break, rest. And so I think for every single individual, this is a personal approach to learning how to find true balance in their lives, in each person's life. And I think that balance, there is a balance between like being uncomfortable and then resting and taking a step back and being aware in the uncomfortable zone, and then being aware in the rest that comes from it and having a ton of gratitude for both. And there's like a balance, there's a relationship between yourself and that part of life. And you can't kill yourself in the process. And you're gonna make mistakes. You're going to fail. That's part of what life is. I think that like failing, which is, I just don't like that term, I think that like succeeding can feel like failure. And that's like learning that and befriending that, learning how to dance with your own fear, learning how to befriend or like stand side by side with your own anxiety, and seeing how those things that maybe led to like failure, well, you wouldn't be where you are today if you didn't keep going. Right. And so like, you always have to have like an awareness of yourself in this process and what you can and can't do. And I think that that's where true integrity comes from, is knowing your body, knowing yourself, and being able to choose wisely in a place that is action from being fully responsible of yourself. So having the ability to respond at all is being aware of your body, being aware of your thoughts, being aware of your fears and your pains and your struggles and what you can and can't handle. And then like, if it's like, I can't handle that, but that's what requires true growth, then you just push that needle. It's like, okay, you can't handle that. Why can't you handle that? Let's talk about it. Let's have a vulnerable conversation like with yourself, or go to somebody else. Hey, I really want to grow in this area of my life. I just don't know how to. Then go talk to other people about it. That requires a lot of uncomfortability to being vulnerable. And that's going to move just doing that alone moves the needle up. And all of a sudden you have a little bit more room of that growth. What used to be, I can't do this. And it's like, you can constantly find balance in seeing how there's like I don't want to even say give and pull. It's more of just like, take a step, be aware of that, and like always be aware of how far you've come, right? Like being aware of your own growth is like huge. And so I think that like all of this requires balance to find like how to get through life and being so uncomfortable with the growth, and not give up
Yeah.
and not just think it's like all pain. It's not. It's a combination of joy and suffering, and they both happen at the same freaking time.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm so happy now. Life is so happy. It's like, no, this is just a part. It's just a part of life. There's always somebody in the world while you're happy suffering immensely.
Yeah.
And we're all just another version of each other.
Yeah.
And so having the awareness of other people and befriending other people and having these conversations also like really like lightens up the privilege we have in our lives to even be sitting here having a podcast or being able to perform on a stage. There's so many people in this world that probably would love that and don't have the money or the technology
or the time
because they just have to get food on the table. And so like this idea of deserving fame, or I feel like I deserve this or that. It's like, that's always an opportunity to be like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. And it's never about deserving. At least it's never been for me. I don't think I deserve anything. Like that's the tough part is I don't think I'm getting a lot better at feeling my worth for myself through self-love.
I think that's what I was going to say is when it's like, I don't know if I deserve the stage. I don't know if I deserve money from my music or whatever. It's like all I'm hearing, and this is what you just said. And because I can say the same shit about me not doing music as much as I want to, and all of the things that have happened in my life that have like required me is like, that just is like another way of saying that is like, I don't know if I deserve love. Right. I don't know if I deserve, like, what do you want to do there? I want to make music and perform it, but I don't know if I deserve that. Do you think you deserve love? Everyone deserves love.
Yeah.
Learning that is taking a step back and being aware of yourself.
Yeah.
How do you get there? Well, that's what we fucking just talked about. You got to be uncomfortable. You got to put yourself into uncomfortable positions. And I think like easy ways to do that are going to therapy. That's uncomfortable. And working out. And like, there's like simple things that aren't very simple, but there's ways out there. Just talking to other people.
Doing this podcast.
Meditating, yoga.
Yeah.
These are all uncomfortable. It's like, the first 2 minutes of it or 3 minutes of it are so goddamn uncomfortable.
Yeah.
There's everything in life that is like true growth is going to be uncomfortable, and they all connect. It all matters. And you got to have balance. And it's so easy for the ego. The ego slips in like, come on, just quit riding the bike right now. You're tired.
Yeah.
And that comfort comes in, that familiarity where you're like, I could just stop right now and go put on a movie. And it's like, ego is a powerful drug.
Yeah.
It's a powerful part of ourselves that we are like needing to be aware of.
Yeah.
And be like, I know that that's what I say. That's what happens when I want to quit, and learning how to befriend that and not hate it, and like learning how to balance that.
But recognizing that self-battle is also a big thing too. Sometimes you can just be like, for the bike, for an example, talk yourself out of it because you're like, I did work hard today. I did walk like 10 miles at my job. I don't have to be on this bike to do that extra, actual sweating workout. All right. I'm not going to do it. But recognizing that that's your ego talking you out of doing something that's self-love. You're not loving yourself. You're actually kind of hating on yourself by doing that. But like just recognizing that is powerful.
Right.
A lot of times in my life, I've been doing that for most of my life. And then I didn't realize until recently that conversation was even happening with myself.
Awareness.
Yeah. Awareness is huge.
Awareness is like one of the strongest qualities we can be, is constantly aware of everything.
And it's interesting because the fear of being uncomfortable, it's not just about like for performing, for an example. It's also the fear of, what if I do well? What if everyone fucking loves it? That means I have to keep doing this. That means I have to keep this feeling. It's like, oh, that's I just shouldn't do it. It's every outcome can be attached to fear and uncomfortability. And I think there's something special about that. Right. That's your ego. That's really just like, it doesn't even matter what you do. You're going to suffer, right? It's like, no.
Yeah. And I think that voice can creep in, but I do think fear is its own. Fear isn't a bad thing.
No.
I think that's just learning you have to learn how to be more friendly with your own fears, and not just cancel them out, and not like I've said it the last cast, the only thing to fear is fear itself. Truly. Everything can be scary. So that means I don't do anything. Well, it's like it's real, but it's not, that's not it. That's not the end. It's just a part of life.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be there. You're supposed to be scared of this shit. So do it.
Mhm.
But I'm scared. You're supposed to be scared. That's a part of being alive. You're telling me I'm supposed to like get on the bike and I'm like scared I'm not going to succeed? Yes. So do I just keep doing it then? Yeah. You just keep being in fear and learn how to realize that that's not all of you.
Yeah.
It's just a piece of this huge, multifaceted human being that's just this universe manifest coming out. That's a being like you're just aware and experiencing life happening.
Mhm.
And it's like, it can feel like life happens at you, but really you're there to experience that life happening. You're chosen.
Mhm.
It's not a curse. You didn't find yourself in this, place in life for like no specific reason.
Mm.
I think that you are the reason. You are why.
Yeah. 100%.
100%.
100%.
101%.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I hear you.
Well, sounds like this is a good segue, Zachary, into one of the funnest parts of our podcast, where if you leave during this part of the podcast, it's just unfortunate.
It's okay, though, but it's very unfortunate.
You are making some great shorts of these, and so maybe you catch the shorts. They're great, or the clips you make for YouTube. And so...
see, but you only see the 90-second small ones. On TikTok, I keep it still pretty long, and so you can watch it for like 4 minutes. What's TikTok? It's just a different version.
Never heard of it. You mean like for a clock?
Yeah, TikToks.
That song by Kesha?
Yeah.
Let's get to it, Zachary. It seems like it's about time for us to go over to the... God, it's loud. Game cam, bro. Jeez, sometimes you do that air thing. It's like,
yeah, it has that nice 3400 hertz pitch that just goes.
We're back playing Mario Kart again because it's one of the best games ever made.
Yep.
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
Yep.
And we're doing battle. Yep. And so I am going to be Wario. I thought you were going to be Peach. I was like, do it. Zachary won the last time on Double Deck. No, wait, it was Block Fort the last time. We're doing Double Deck today.
Okay.
This is going to be Double Deck 2.0. Zachary has won the last 2 games because you won Skyscraper.
I won Skyscraper, Block Fort.
But I did win Wave Race.
Yeah.
But you won the last 2 Mario Kart games. One of my controllers is almost dead, so if this doesn't go well, we'll have to switch to the single controllers.
Oh, yeah, it sucks.
Here we go. Oh, shoot, I gotta fix my mic a little bit. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, shoot. Oh, I just wasted that red shell because I'm panicking. Oh! No. No.
Oh, 2 balloons.
Oh, dude. This is a really bad start for me. That is just so lame. I like it. We're just staying on the middle floor. Oh, you already have more green shells. I'm going to the bottom deck. I don't trust this.
Good choice, dog. Oh, Shizaconf. These green shells. Yes! Oh, no. You almost launched me out. Oh, dude. That was so close.
Oh, my gosh. What an intense first game. Not having it right now. This is just not easy. Hi, buddy.
Oh, Shiza.
Come here.
Why is it not?
Come here.
It's not releasing the...
Because maybe we're low on batteries. Who knows?
Oh, no. Something's happening. Dude, something's happening. I can't release it.
No!
Yes, dude. You like that move?
Oh, wow. What a crazy first match.
My controllers definitely started to get weird there for a second.
I think it's just we forget the controllers, man.
No. Okay, so when you use your thing, are you using X or are you using trigger?
What are you, X? No, you have to use your trigger to shoot things.
Okay, so
it's just like the N64
you can also
controller.
use X.
Just use the left trigger because remember the N64 would be down here.
Yeah. Oh, the Z button.
I really hope I get this one so we can tie at least.
Oh, no.
Oh, I missed you. Oh, my God, man. I'm not. Oh, my God. Get out of here, bro. No. Oh, this is so intense. Wow. Right when I have a red shell, you're just going to get multiple stars. No! You like that move, don't you, buddy?
Oh no, one of my own
Yes.
green shells.
Yes.
No. Scheiße.
Yes.
Good hit, dude.
Yes.
All right, now it is exactly like what I had you at.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I keep missing boxes. This is tough. This is a tough game. Okay, I'll just get bananas. It's almost like they know you have one balloon. Woo! Hey! Woo! Hey!
Oh my gosh.
You hit yourself. You dummy.
No.
Oh! Oh, yes!
Dang it. Nice red shell, dude. Perfect timing.
Best out of 3. This is it.
That was 2, so this is it.
This is it.
Okay.
Real deal, baby.
Real deal.
Spin out again. Please spin out again. I got that boost. Because, I'm a drummer. I got that good time. Oh!
Right into the wall. Right into the wall, dog.
What? No!
Oh, okay, we got each other.
Ooh, that was good. This is good. Oh, I'm going to get you with those green shells just like you got me, sucker.
I did not mean to use that. Oh! Get smacked, dude.
Shit. Oh, shit. Oh, yes. Yes. Come here. You little. Oh, wow. He's got a red shell. This is not good.
Oh my god, I thought I had it, dude. I was celebrating early.
I had you. No. Wow, so many stars. I'm just going to stay up here for a little bit. Oh no, you go much faster with me when you got the star. This is so intense. I need that extra balloon. Woohoo! Oh shoot! Oh shoot!
No.
Yes!
What?
What a great mine!
I didn't even see it come out.
That was a great mine, dude.
Yes!
No, dude! Yes! I know we're not supposed to yell anymore. Yes!
I had the bananas and everything.
That was the best Mario Kart game we've ever played. That was
a good game.
That was really
great.
intense.
Oh god.
So intense.
At least they're getting more challenging. At least you're not just completely wiping me off the water.
Yes.
Oh man, I wanted that 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Good job. Great work, man.
That was great.
You did it.
That was really good. That was really fun. Echo. Garage on.
I'm gonna push up there. We gotta charge those.
We're gonna charge those. Yeah, and I feel charged right now. I feel supercharged.
Supercharged.
That was fun. Let's call it, man. Great cast, great conversation.
Yes, sir.
I know we won't be casting again before the performance.
Yeah, the basically the next cast we're gonna be doing it the day after I perform. But I basically have to perform tonight.
No, you're just doing it. No, this is the whole point of rehearsal is to make mistakes.
I guess, yeah.
Get an idea of what it's going to feel like on that stage.
I know. I'm stoked that we have a rehearsal. At first, I was very nervous about it. That I was like, I don't want to do the rehearsal. Like, it's gonna be so awkward in front of these people.
And you wanted,
but then I was like, oh, I want to see what it's going to feel like to be on that stage. I want to see what the monitors feel like.
You wanted it to be a surprise for me. And I think that I think it's actually really good that I'm coming to rehearsal tonight. I'm just a greeter. I love the life I'm living now. I used to perform so much, and now I'm just the greeter at the door. Like, hi, take a bulletin.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the church.
The pastor will be getting started soon here.
Folding bulletins. Oh my goodness. How many Sunday mornings were you folding bulletins?
Yeah, and sing-song sheets.
Yep.
Sing-song sheets.
Yep.
Talk about trauma.
Yep.
Trigger. Is I think it's good that I get to see it because like I think part of like some of that anxiety, it's like instead of it being like just like you're gonna do great regardless, but like if I get to see you perform tonight, then you're performing in front of me, which is going to be nerve-wracking because I'm actually less nervous to perform in front of you. You see me in a lot of vulnerable situations, especially like
recently, and
Right.
like we act all the time together. I'm more just like nervous to perform in front of performers and like people that do it all the time. Like LBZ is going to be performing right before my performance, and it's like he does.
You think he'll come tonight?
Yeah, it's rehearsal. Yes, if you're not there, you don't get to perform.
Yeah.
So anyone that misses
But
today,
this is what it's
doesn't
about,
perform.
man. You get to actually become friends with him
No,
more.
totally,
Right?
totally. Well, and it's just like, dude,
And you should ask him to be on the fucking cast.
we should. I mean, we are a trauma cast. We don't know nothing about him.
Everything we talked about today was the trauma of performance.
Yeah,
Literally.
yeah,
And growth, and how like being uncomfortable as a performer helps you grow in real life.
yeah.
I think we've said this before. We can have whoever we want on this.
We can
cast.
do it anything
The
we
first
want.
other podcast we're gonna have on has nothing to do with trauma.
Yeah, I know.
Don't let that stop you.
Don't
The
let
more
that
the
stop you.
merry. Plus, it's giving him an opportunity to talk about it. That would be a great conversation.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for my brand new Mac Mini,
Yes,
because
sir.
one of the things that I didn't talk about is I'm actually nervous that I actually have to start writing this album more, because I
Yep.
have the technology that's not going to hold me back.
Yep.
And I'm nervous about that.
Yeah.
Because I want to start, I got to bring it over to your house and set up the singing stuff. And
Mhm.
I'm ready for it, but I'm looking up to you, man, in your life and how you're like constantly putting out new art and you're performing live again. This is giving me like, it feels like a red carpet. Like, Nathan, the red carpet's laid out for
Yeah.
you. You just got to walk down it. And I'm like, I'm very inspired. So
Cool.
I'm looking forward to it. Anything else?
That's it, dude.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
And we love you.
Love you.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next time.
Peace out.
Peace out.
See you later.
See ya.
Okay, bye.
All right. Have a good
All
one.
right, we'll take care.